This is the world's safest train. Or was it? Germany's ICE train, called an engineering marvel by the entire world, was destroyed in just 12 minutes. Was it human error? Technical failure? Or something else? Let's find out in this video.
On the morning of June 3, 1998, a German family was enjoying their train journey over coffee. This high-speed train was traveling from Munich to Hamburg. It was 10:30 a.m., and everything was normal. But exactly 12 minutes later, the family was horrified when a piece of steel suddenly ripped through the floor beneath their feet, directly between their seats. But this was just the beginning. The most dangerous accident in German high-speed train history. EURO-TV's videos once again celebrate the tragedy. Viewers, in the late 1950s, Japan astonished the world when its Shinkansen, or bullet train, became the world's first high-speed train. This train connected cities across the country and made journeys so fast that hours were reduced to minutes. Following Japan's example, France and Italy also built their own high-speed train infrastructure, and Germany was not far behind. Germany launched its own high-speed train project, dubbed the ICE, or Intercity Express. When these trains debuted in the 1980s, the world realized they were the future of trains. They incorporated everything humankind could imagine: aerodynamic design, the use of modern computers, and an exceptionally comfortable ride. Everything seemed perfect. But every perfect system has a hidden weakness. And the ICE train's weakness was their wheels. The wheels of the ICE Generation 1 trains were initially made in a monoblock design. This meant the entire wheel was made from a solid one-piece steel, making it strong, inexpensive, and reliable. However, a problem was noticed with these monoblock wheels. After a few years, passengers began complaining of a strange vibration when the train traveled at high speeds. Glasses, spoons, and forks in the buffet car, where food was served, would make noise due to the vibrations. These vibrations and noises were making the journey quite unpleasant. When the engineers finally checked, the problem lay within the wheels. The monoblock wheels were, of course, made in one piece, and the wheels were equally balanced on all sides. But if even 5 grams of weight is added to one side, then at high RPM, this extra weight will cause vibration in the differential wheel, and this is exactly what was happening. Due to high speed, friction had worn some sides of the monoblock wheels unevenly, due to which the wheel's balance got disturbed. It was not felt at slow speeds. But when this unbalanced wheel was driven at 250 km per hour as the wheel rotates, it causes vibrations throughout the train. This is a common problem with any wheel. Even with a train wheel, if 2 punctures are made simultaneously on one side, the weight on that side, even if only a few grams, increases, which can cause vibrations at high speeds. To address this, wheel balancing is performed, where a technician applies an equal amount of weight to the opposite side to balance the wheel. However, balancing loaded train wheels can be a very difficult task, especially if they are made in one piece, and replacing the wheels is not only difficult but also very costly. Therefore, German engineers devised a novel solution to this problem on ICE trains: reliant wheels. The unique feature of reliant wheels was that they were not one piece. The inner ring was made in a separate piece, and the outer ring was made in a separate piece. Between these 2 rings, a rubber ring was placed to absorb vibrations. This design was specifically adopted so that whenever the outer wheel wore out, only that part would be replaced, not the entire wheel. This design was also being used on German trams at the time. However, the problem was that trams only ran at a speed of 30 km/h, while ICE trains had to run at a speed of 250 km per hour, kilometer. This was a major issue, the details of which you'll learn later. But at the time, no one paid attention. Executives approved the design of the resilient wheels without any testing, and in 1992, these new wheels were installed on all high-speed trains. Everything went well for a few years. But in 1997, the Hanover Tram Company, Astra, made a shocking discovery. They noticed some cracks in the wheels of their trams. They replaced the cracked wool parts and, as a precaution, informed Deutsche Bahn, Germany's national railway company. However, since there were no complaints of vibrations in ice trains at that time, Deutsche Bahn ignored this warning. And then, exactly 1 year later, on June 3, 1998, everything changed. At 10:30 a.m., ice train 884 departed Hanover Station for Hamburg. The train had a total of 14 coaches, 2 power cars and 12 passenger cars. Inside were 287 passengers and 8 crew members. Everything seemed normal when it left Hanover Station. George Dittman was traveling with his family in coach number 1. Their journey was going smoothly. But after a few minutes, something suddenly hit the floor of the train, and the next moment, something hit between 2 seats. A piece of steel tore through the floor and emerged. This sharp piece of steel was actually a piece of wheel. Seeing this, George and his family immediately panicked, as if the ground had slipped beneath their feet. Had the iron come in at such a speed, even slightly to the left or right, his family would not have survived. He immediately sent his wife and children to the adjacent compartment and went to find the conductor. The conductor was in the 3rd coach at the time. George explained everything to him. But according to company policy, the conductor cannot stop the train until he sees the problem himself. So, together, they headed for the 1st coach. The train was still running at 200 kilometers per hour, and the vibrations were slowly increasing. By the time the conductor and George reached the 1st coach, the train had traveled 3 kilometers and was about to pass through a dangerous section where the tracks split. The broken wool fragment, still suspended beneath the train, continued sliding along the tracks. When the train crossed the first section point, the tire fell off and struck the track lever, and at that moment, a dangerous event occurred. The track switch changed. Now, the first and second coaches of the train were on one track, but the third coach moved on to the other. The front and rear would be in different directions. The train's body twisted, and coach number 3 collided directly with a concrete pillar of a bridge. The horrific collision broke the bridge in half. Coach number 4 avoided the collapsing bridge but hit an embankment, crushing 3 railway workers instantly. Coaches number 5 and 6 were crushed under 300 tons of the collapsing bridge's concrete. The height of those 2 coaches was reduced to just 6 inches. Yes, just 6 inches. The remaining coaches following behind, 7, 8, 9, and 10, collided with each other at full speed, folding like paper. Only the first 2 coaches, carrying George and his family, survived, and the front locomotive stopped 3 kilometers ahead. The engineer and driver were certainly jolted when coach number 3 hit the bridge, but they were completely oblivious to the catastrophe unfolding behind them. There was a small town called Ashy. When the residents heard the explosion, they rushed to the scene. The scene before them is one they will likely never forget: broken coaches, pieces of iron, fire, and people screaming. Some were trapped under the debris of the bridge, others were stuck in their seats. The pressure-proof windows were so strong that they were almost impossible to break. Rescue workers had to call in heavy machinery, but it still took several hours to reach the first trapped people. More than 1,000 rescue workers, ambulances, and military doctors arrived at the site and began the operation. A medical conference was taking place nearby. 40 foreign doctors from there also reached the site, but by then, everything was over. A total of 101 people were killed in the accident. 88 were seriously injured, and around 100 suffered minor injuries. Those in the first 2 coaches were fortunate to survive. German high-speed trains, once considered the safest in the world, were shattered by the Asiatic disaster. This accident shocked not only Germany but also those in France, Italy, and Japan, which also share high-speed train networks. When investigators analyzed the entire site, it initially appeared as if a train had run off the tracks. But when they found a wheel component that had penetrated the floor of coach number 1, everything became clear. Logs were reviewed and it was discovered that the same wheel had previously reported a flat spot issue. It was there, 8 times. But it still wasn't replaced. Crack detecting machines were available, but visual inspections were still done with a flashlight. The company dismissed the issue by claiming the machines were false alarms. In 1992, Fraunhofer, a German research organization, issued a warning that resilient wheels could be dangerous on high-speed trains, and in 1997, the Hanover Tram Company also issued a warning. But both warnings were ignored. Engineers later explained that these tires rotated 500,000 times a day, at high speeds. With each rotation, the steel tire would compress slightly and expand again. This created fatigue cracks that grew larger and larger. The rubber in the center absorbed the vibrations, and no one realized the wheels were actually cracking. And then finally, on June 3, 1998, a single broken wheel caused a major disaster. The ET disaster is considered the world's most dangerous high-speed train accident. Following the accident, the wheels of all high-speed trains were replaced with monoblock designs, and all bridges around junction points were relocated to prevent a similar accident. Germany. After this accident, the government re-evaluated its entire rail system. Pressure-proof windows were replaced so that if rescue became necessary in the future, trapped people could be pulled out by breaking the windows. Even today, the Aschat disaster is taught as an example in German railway training centers. Monoblock wheels certainly have higher maintenance costs and are time-consuming. However, because they are cast in one piece, they are less likely to break at high speeds. And vibrations are a signal that the wheels need balancing. We hope you will like and share this video from URO TV. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next great video.